All right, let's do this. My name is Sappy, and I'd like to make playlists. Over the last few months, I've been running this Instagram page called Sappy Makes Playlists, and I've been sharing songs, 22 at a time, clustered by genre, by year, by theme. And it really started during COVID when I needed to keep my mind together and I wanted to listen to music and rediscover songs, and it's just impossible with the way that my digital library was organized. If I wanted to listen to songs or they were my favorite, they just went into a master hip hop folder. And I never got around to listening to those songs. For anyone who's followed the page, if this is the first time that you're hearing from me, I'm really into punk rock, into hip hop, into soul, into rock steady, ska, reggae, and I just appreciate music. And definitely when I was a kid, I was that music snob, right? I only enjoyed the songs that were from my bands or that actually toured with my bands. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to just appreciate music, even if I don't like it. All right, cool, good for you that you play that and you put yourself out there. Kind of like I'm trying to put myself out there right now and trying to decide if I do something with this page, something a little bit more. And do I do a podcast or a radio show, internet radio show, or record some shorts? I want to talk about these playlists that I'm recording. I want to share why I like the music so much. And from there, I talk about the nonsense that I think about nonstop, which is Seinfeld references, New York Yankees, unfortunately, the New York Jets, and a whole lot of 1980s professional wrestling talk. I'm gonna give you a little story. Let's see if this intrigues you at all, and if it does, just let me know, because this is what I would have to offer if I was to do these shorts or to have a little segment during a show. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Saturday from this past weekend. And I live in the suburbs, and I'm fairly introverted, but I act like an extrovert when I get super uncomfortable. And I went to a neighborhood St. Patrick's Day party, never met any of the neighbors, and as I'm walking up to the house, there's a Buffalo Bills flag, and I'm a New York Jets fan, so they're in the same division. I have no interest in associating or talking to a Bills fan. That was the mood that I was in. So sure enough, I get welcomed into the home. I meet the husband, I meet the wife, and the first thing I say is, "It's very nice meeting you. Thanks for inviting us. Unfortunately, I have to leave because you're a Bills fan." And I got like half a laugh out of that. But as we kept on talking, I found out that she was from Buffalo, but then she'd relocated to Baltimore and worked at a bar that I used to frequent. So my buddy Scott, he was pretty much living there. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, you must know Scott." And sure enough, she's like, "Yeah, I know Scott. I know his friend." And it was pretty cool that we were able to interact, and I suddenly felt comfortable, and I didn't feel like that introvert, and I went from making a bad joke to actually having a good conversation. So that was a cool part of the day. Fast forward a bit, and I'm feeling introverted again, and just hanging out on the deck, holding my beer, walking around in a circle, and there's some kid who creeps up on me with a Nerf gun, and it was kind of funny. And the kid looked really familiar, but why would I know some random kid at a neighborhood party when I really don't know the neighbors or anyone in the area, even though I've lived here for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now at this point. So I keep on thinking about it, and I had a recollection of being at a birthday party with my 5-year-old son a couple months back, and it was a Nerf themed battle. So parents threw literally the coolest party ever, bought every single kid a Nerf gun there, set up a whole entire battlefield, and it was just a cool party. But I was definitely feeling introverted that day and didn't want to engage, and I did anything that I could to not talk to the other parents and have awkward conversations. So when all the little kids were done playing Nerf, there was one kid that was, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he started to shoot at me, and I was like, all right, cool, it's on. And one-on-one Nerf battle that a 43-year-old man was having with an 8 through 10-year-old. So, right, that was weird, but I was having fun, and none of the parents called the cops on me, so everything was good. So I'm at this party and this kid had crept up on me with a Nerf gun, and I'm positive that it's this kid that I was playing with. So sure enough, he comes walking on by. I was like, "Hey, were you at Thomas's birthday party?" All creepy, and yes, right, that was the kid. So I'm chuckling. I tell my wife and I tell my neighbors that we're close with, and they're like, "Oh, that's creepy. Don't tell that story." So fast forward a little while later in the party, I'm talking to a couple, and they're from Worcester, Massachusetts, and I lived up in Boston for a while. The husband had a Dropkick Murphy shirt on, and I was like, all right, maybe they're into punk rock. So sure enough, we started to talk about music a little bit. And there was one venue, Ralph's Diner in Worcester, Massachusetts, that I used to go to some shows at, and we started to talk about it. Sure enough, they had been there, so I had some nice conversation with them, and I then I see the kid who I was playing Nerf with at some other party, and I tell them the story, and yeah, that was their kid. So not only right was I awkward telling a story about quote playing with another kid or a little kid, but it was to the parents. Luckily they laughed, but that's an example of the nonsense that I have to bring. I think that my life is funny and it's not intentional. I'm not a comedian. I'm far from a stand-up comedian. I'm not a wordsmith, but a lot of funny shit happens to me, and I think that y'all might be entertained by it. So let me know. Let me know what you think of this, and I might try and do something with it. Thanks.